Let's see if WWE can clean up the mess they made at SummerSlam. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is WWE Last Week, your weekly look back at the week that was in the WWE. You're going to have to excuse me. I'm very tired. It's very late in the day. This is the third pod I've done this weekend, so I'm going to encourage you to go check out my review for Collision, which was also very mixed, and my movie review of the last voyage of the Demeter, which was really, really good. Saw that on Saturday before Collision. Did the Collision review, did the Last of the Demeter review. Now I'm doing the WWE Last Week review. So why am I tired? I'm tired because it's tired in here. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more my reaction to SummerSlam was mixed. Still liked the things that I liked, still thought the things that I thought Sean, but I'm starting to rethink how the things that didn't work really didn't work. So it's a bit of a miss, which is weird because WWE the past little while has had a pretty good record with their PLEs. But we started off Raw. First thing we found out was the Raw and SmackDown commentary teams have changed a little bit. It's Michael Cole and Wade Barrett from SmackDown are now the Raw commentary team, and the Raw commentary team has moved to SmackDown, although Michael Cole has stayed there as well. We'll talk about that a bit later. Now, a little bit of a black and white situation here, because they do announce that the first hour of Raw this week was going to be commercial free. I don't know what the significance of that is. I don't know whether this was a special Monday and I just missed it, but we're going to get a commercial free first hour. But I'll counter that with there was a lot of replays. A lot of replays and a lot of video packages and a lot of filler. So they did what it said on the tin. They gave us an hour commercial free, but a lot of it was filler. But on the other side of the coin, where I'll defend them, is people, oh, well, it wasn't really an hour commercial free, it was only 56 minutes. Well, you need to fuck off as well. That's all. We start with Cody Rhodes because, of course, we do. We brag about the win over Brock Lesnar and the weird handshake and how Brock Lesnar had to put him over afterwards. And I'm on top, I can beat anybody, and Brock Lesnar acknowledged me, and all the Cody Rhodes fans proceeded to jerk themselves off. Now, apparently, Brock Lesnar actually got injured in that match, and that was part of the reason that he wanted to put Cody Rhodes over, because he wasn't going to be around for a while, seemingly because of the injury. I don't know what the nature of the injury is. I don't care. I want to send good wish. I don't care whether he sprained his pinky toe or whether he broke his neck. Somebody gets injured, you wish them well. He's interrupted by Seth Rollins, and I love this because Cody Rhodes interrupted Seth Rollins not that long ago when Brock Lesnar beat the shit out of him. So it was a callback to an interruption from a while ago, which is true. The crowd sings his song. The last time we almost went face-to-face, Brock got in the way. You can beat anybody, eh? I heard you say you can beat anybody. Let's test that theory. Judgment Day cuts them off. Yes, it's a promo train. It's how WWE tells their stories. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. You don't go to watch the movie Jackass and expect Shakespeare. This is what it is. Judgment Day comes out with no Balor, and basically Priest and Ripley, for the most part, and Dominic just standing there looking like Dominic, said, you two don't run Monday Night Raw. We do. There's no Balor. You don't dictate title shots, we do. We run the show, we hold all the power. We've got the Money in the Bank briefcase, we've got Dominic's North American Championship, we've got Rhea's World Women's Championship. And by the way, Dominic isn't done with Cody Rhodes, which I thought was really odd to stick in there. Balor attacks Rollins from behind, which even Judgment Day is surprised by. Sami Zayn runs in and makes it a 3-on-3. Now the Sami thing changes throughout the night, and it's a mix of storyline and what's up in the real life. But yeah, Balor attacks Rollins, Sami runs in to even up the score. You've got Priest, Balor, and Dominic Mysterio brawling with Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, who also doesn't have a tag team partner because Kevin Owens is injured. So we're doing a lot of mix and match soup here. And Rhea Ripley can't do anything because WWE doesn't allow intergender wrestling. Although, I will say, Rhea Ripley versus any of these guys would be a hell of a match. Anyways, you get the predictable thing that you think you would get out of this opening segment. You get the main event, and then you get all the people, the Michael Sidgwicks of the world. They say, well, what would the main event have been? Well, let me tell you. In this case, the main event would have been... Let me look down my notes. It would have been the Viking Raiders Open Challenge. That would have been the main match. That would have been the main event of the evening. So... we then go to the back. We see Adam Pearce talking to Ricochet. Ricochet, who got screwed out of his win by Logan Paul. We're going to get a rematch of that later on down the line. I doubt it'll be at Payback. Maybe it'll be at Survivor Series. That's okay. But he said, hey, I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad these other three guys are here too. In come Riddle, Ciampa, and Chad Gable. He says, you know what, you guys, he says to Ricochet, you lost your opportunity at SummerSlam. I want to offer all of you guys another opportunity tonight. We're going to have a fatal four-way for the #1 contendership to the Intercontinental Champion. Sorry, I can speak, I swear. A #1 contendership towards the Intercontinental Champion Gunther. There we go. It's Riddle versus Ciampa versus Gable versus Ricochet in a fatal four-way match. #1 contenders match. That's not going to be bad, is it? Very, very slow turn-taking from the start. Series of early pin attempts, double ankle lock by Gable and Riddle at one point, and then Gable and Riddle have a mini one-on-one match. The one thing I do like, and it happens in the Rumble, and it happens in multi-person matches, and it happens in fatal four-ways like this, you get mini matches that I'd like to see. I just finished talking about Collision, where you had House of Black versus CMFTR, which, from that, obviously there was a BS finish, there's the CM Punk Samoa Joe stuff to deal with, but I'd really like to see an Aleister Black CM Punk feud out of that. I really, really would. In this case, you saw Riddle and Gable going at it, which is really, really good. The best thing, probably the best thing on this show, to be honest, it's all too familiar now to see a Tree of Woe thing from the corner. But to see these four guys stack on stack on stack on stack and hit a super quad German suplex with Ricochet on the top was a hell of a thing for them to pull off, not gonna lie. Flurry of finishers, springboard by Ricochet, cut off by Ciampa, Chaos Theory, suplex on Ciampa gets the win for Gable, and Gable goes out to his family. I had not made the connection at the time that Gable was in his hometown. Gable gets to celebrate with his family. Gable gave us a hell of a match the previous week with Gunther when he won the 5-minute challenge, and then they went on to have a hell of a regular match. Now, that's cool for one thing. He was there with his family, which is cool for another thing. But his son was there, and his son is in, like, a wrestling, singlet to match his dad, which is really, really cool. And a really, really niche thing for me, at going to Destiny shows. Yes, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. And occasionally when you watch on Impact, you see Josh Alexander and his son, whose name I think is Jet, but I'm not sure. And he comes out like the walking weapon is Josh Alexander, and he's lovingly been called Baby Weapon in Destiny Wrestling because he comes out with the headgear and the wrestling singlet just like his dad, which is awesome. Which is absolutely awesome. Like, this is, I said this the other week, right? Like, it's awesome real life shit. I said a while ago when Chelsea and Sonya won the tag titles, I'm like, there's not much story to this, but it's awesome real life stuff. This is awesome real life stuff, and that's really cool. And to see that, to see the kid dressed up like his dad, and to bring it back to something that I've gotten to see in person at Destiny with another fantastic wrestler like Josh Alexander was really, really cool. Also, side note, how good would a Josh Alexander versus Chad Gable match be? Just putting that one out there. In the back, Sammy's super hyper team member guy trying to smooth things over with Rollins and Cody, because Rollins is pissed off that he sort of got voluntold to be in this match, and Miz is on his way to a photo shoot, and he has to wait his turn at the photo shoot because LA Knight is getting his photo shoot done because he won the Slim Jim Battle Royal and all this other type of thing. Now, what this does is this puts The Miz and LA Knight in the same orbit. I really, really like the idea of Miz and LA Knight being in the same orbit because you're not going to get anything bad from that, are you? And once again, this is where people are like, oh, I'm going to get a gotcha on the WWE. Well, isn't LA Knight supposed to be on SmackDown? Well, aren't you supposed to not be in your mom's basement? I think it's funny that people that don't like the brand split, that shit on the brand split, that say it doesn't make any sense, will then cling to the brand split when they detour from it and use the other side of that argument. I think it's really lame, I'm not going to lie. Bronson Reed versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Again, it's been Bronson, Nakamura, and Ricochet, and then it sort of transitioned into Bronson, Nakamura, and Ciampa for a while, these sort of three-way feuds. So, I will say, at this point in the night, to see Bronson Reed and Nakamura having another match was kind of eye-rolling, kind of, okay, we're doing this again type thing. It was weird, sort of one punch for one punch, slow motion, awkward in the early going. I don't mind people having an awkward match in the beginning and then they sort of find their groove and find their way, but these are guys that have interacted a lot in the past few weeks, so I guess it stuck out to me a bit more. Don't let that take away from the fact that it was incredibly high impact, incredibly like heavy striking, some kind of cool like psychology between the shots stuff as well. The tsunami misses. Wade Barrett on commentary, happy that to be on Raw because he gets to call the tsunami again, just like he did in NXT, was a nice, neat little thing. It doesn't change anything, but it is a nice, neat little thing. Tsunami misses. Nakamura hits him with two Kinshasas, one from the front and one from the back, which was kind of dirty, and Nakamura gets the win. This is where we hit about the 56-minute mark, and this is where people say, oh, 56 minutes isn't an hour, and I just roll my eyes a whole bunch. We get a medical update in the back on Raquel Rodriguez, who is injured, and because she's still injured and not cleared, Adam Pearce says she can't have her match with Rhea Ripley, which will tie into later on. She's also in the back being consoled by Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, which will also tie in later on, which is good. Nice to see Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell on my screen, because we don't see them that much, which is also unfortunate, and we move swiftly on. Also, Ludwig Kaiser goes into Maxine Dupree's locker room and tries to hit on her, which is not quite on, and Otis challenges him to a match later on tonight. So you've got Gable, who's going to be facing Gunther in the future. His partner Otis is going to take on one of Gunther's henchmen later on in the night. What could possibly go wrong? Becky Lynch comes out to hype up her match next week with Trish, next week in Winnipeg, in Trish's home country, even though it's not her home city. That should be Toronto, but SmackDown's getting Toronto instead. Trust me, gonna talk more about SmackDown in Toronto later on, because I'm very excited about going. But yeah, the whole idea that they held this off of the pay-per-view so that they could do it in her home country, I mean, LA Knight came to Raw, you could say, hey, Raw got LA Knight so that SmackDown could have Becky Lynch versus Trish in Toronto, so that the hometown thing could be more on point. That's another story for another day. Becky Lynch says, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be the greatest of that generation versus the greatest of this or any other generation. Zoe Stark comes out, talks some shit. We both already beat you. Calls herself and Trish the baddies of Monday Night Raw, and calls herself the baddest one on the roster. The baddest one on the roster gets a hell of a reaction when we have Shayna Baszler come out. And holy hell, for those of you that were saying, oh, you know, the MMA match they had at SummerSlam was just, it was all drawn out and slow and nothing really happened or whatever. She fucked up her arm, she fucked up her hand, and she fucked up her face. Look at her fucking face. Not only look at her fucking face, but look at her fucking face, and she came to work 2 days later. Steps to Zoe Stark. Becky sort of calls Pierce out, like almost mocking the process a little bit, but says, hey, that sounds like a hell of a match to me. Pierce, why don't you come out and make it official? Pierce does come out and make it official. We've got Baszler and Zoe shortly. We go to the back, and Priest is looking for Finn Balor to talk about, you know, why'd you interrupt what we were trying to do at the beginning of the night? Like, you didn't come out with us, and then you came out to interrupt what we were trying to get done. But Finn won't talk to him because he's busy talking to who? JD McDonough. Oh, fucking yes. Oh, fucking yes. And he says, you know, anything you can say to me, you can say in front of him, because I've known him for 20 years. I've known him longer than I've known you. And, you know, they kind of have it out in front of JD. And then JD looks at, I feel bad saying JD, because, you know, somebody in our community named JD, who's very well known, is not very good for the wrestling community. And that's all I'm going to say. But JD McDonough looks at Damian Priest and sort of says, looks like that briefcase is what's coming between you. Maybe you should get rid of it. And then he kind of wanders off and lets that sort of hang in the air, which I thought was really, really cool. Baszler and Zoe back in the ring. Becky Lynch drinking lemonade on commentary. Oh, yes. Becky Lynch all over social media, sort of getting into the groove of all the people that were jumping on SummerSlam. They cut this match. It must have been because of sexism, blah, 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 blah. Triple H, you know, he's super sexist or whatever. And Becky Lynch sent a picture from her home making lemonade out of lemons. I'm sure she was real sad about having the weekend off and going home and chilling with her kid and all that kind of thing. And let's be real, this coming week, or should I say tomorrow, on Raw in Winnipeg, her and Trish Stratus is probably going to be the main event. Have you seen the video packages? Have you seen the presentation that they're giving this match? It's not going to be a match that's going to be cut for time to fit on a show and all the stuff. They had crazy timing problems at SummerSlam as well, so that was another one that probably would have gotten cut for time. Do you want that? No, you don't. She's drinking lemonade on commentary. That's the main thing. Commentary lists Shayna Baszler's injury. She's got an orbital bone, a thumb, and an arm that are all fucked up. Zoe gets control by basically taking advantage of all the injuries, and then Baszler, after she has a brief period of time in control, destroys her, hits the world's baddest slam, which is Ronda Rousey's Olympic Slam, or Piper's Pit, that she's now adopted as her own. Baszler wins, and Becky gets up from commentary to toast her. Now later on in the back, she says, you know, I don't need your help, I don't need your vote of confidence. I'm coming for everybody that I've got unfinished business with, and that includes you. Do I want Shayna Baszler to destroy Becky Lynch on her way to what should be her versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania? Yes I do. In the back, we see JD McDonough assaulting Sami Zayn backstage. A couple different things are happening here. JD McDonough is trying to get on the good side of the Judgment Day. Cool. It took Sami Zayn out of the match, and Nakamura offered to take his place, which we'll play into later on in the night. And also, it was to cover for a real-life issue that Sami Zayn was having with his elbow. I've seen pictures of that since. It looks gross. Everybody wins. Otis versus Kaiser was a nothing match. It ended when Imperium started attacking him 3-on-1. Kaiser got the win. The entire time we were watching Otis in a match, the crowd was chanting Gable, which is 99% good, but kind of 1% bad. Now the Miz comes out, talks about people not having respect for industry leaders, talks about LA Knight, talks about how he should have respect for people that paved the way, like me. He's never even come through and shook my hand. LA comes out and says, we've been introduced. We were introduced in the Battle Royal, but if you want another more proper introduction, I'm LA Knight, yeah. Miz calls him a flash-in-the-pan, flavor of the week, t-shirt of the month, attitude era, cosplaying in my ring. And LA Knight goes on. They say a lot. I don't have it all written down, but basically he says, I'm going to make you my stepping stone. He goes to step away. Miz throws a jacket at him, tries to attack him. The mini brawl that lasts like 5 seconds ends in LA Knight hitting the blunt force trauma on the Miz to close out the segment. Now, if he's going to be crossing over both shows, and he's going to be going into a program with The Miz, which is what they do. They put you with The Miz when they're about to push you. I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing, but it is what it is. If this is his main direction right now, on Raw, him and The Miz, then I don't necessarily mind that he's being used in a smaller capacity on SmackDown that we're going to talk about later. We get a weird Viking pre-tape and how they're refocused and the gods have told them what they have to do, etc. They're having an open challenge, which is awesome. I kind of thought it was going to be Viking Raiders taking on a couple of local jobbers. If I'm honest, they're big, huge guys. They can pancake some people, and it's fine. Now, funny that I used the word pancake. That wasn't even intentional, because the ones that responded are the New Day. New Day win. At least Woods got the pin, is what I've got in my thing here, because Kofi's been injured for a while. He's coming back. All sarcasm aside, Kofi Kingston's a great wrestler. Very, very entertaining. He was injured. Glad to see him back from injury. Like I say, with the Brock Lesnar thing earlier, with Kevin Owens, with Sami Zayn, with everybody else, anybody who's injured, whether I like you or not, I don't want you to be injured. Let's be real for a second. But man, were they sucking Kofi Kingston's dick on commentary throughout this entire match. Kofi is the heart and soul of our entire industry. Kofi has one of the most memorable title runs in the history of the WWE. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Kofi Kingston's title reign is remembered for two things. Him winning at WrestleMania, fine, fair enough, even though it was forced. And how much everybody was outraged when Brock Lesnar, a bigger star, let's be clear for a second, beat him for that title in like 20 seconds on SmackDown, which made me smile. they keep trying to show the Viking Raiders as badasses, but then you put them up against the New Day, and it's like, all right, the Steamrollers coming down the track. We get it. It's fine. Becky and Shayna in the back have that list of old scores promo that I spoke about earlier. Commentary briefly touches on the injury of Sonya Deville. Apparently, she's been in and already had her shoulder surgery. Apparently, everything that I've read about the post-op information and all that, she's really, really good. It's just going to be a long road to recovery. Apparently, Chelsea Green is auditioning, temporary partners to defend the tag team titles with. So maybe they won't strip them of the titles right away. I'd say give her a random partner, have her drop the titles to somebody like a Katana Chance and Caden Carter, and then whoever failed her as a partner that night, she can have a little mini feud with them, and it'll all be fine again. I've heard it suggested that seeing as it's Sonya Deville that's injured, they should bring back Mandy Rose and say, yeah, I'll fill in for my friend till she gets back. Now, a couple things. I don't think WWE will do that because of the reasons they got rid of Mandy Rose. And another reason is the reason they got rid of Mandy Rose is giving her more money than WWE is. So if she didn't come back, I wouldn't blame her. Other options I've heard put out there are apparently WWE's trying to get the Iconics back, and the Iconics coming in and joining Chelsea Green to do like a Freebird rule type thing with the tag titles. Could be fun. We've seen the New Day do it in the past and whatever. The last one, and oh my god, let me put my face through my computer screen. Apparently they're trying to convince Nia Jax to come back to be Chelsea's partner. And I'm just going to leave that with you. It's just a bad option all the way around. But I think it's kind of cool that they took a minute to touch on Sonya Deville's injury, to wish her well, as everybody should. Very, very cool, very respectfully handled, and they didn't even bother saying on air. Like, all the other Chelsea Green audition stuff is what's happened on social media and what's happened on dirt sheets and whatever. On screen, they didn't even bother dealing with, oh, what are we going to do with the titles? The primary focus of that was just, let's get our good wishes out there to Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville's had a hell of a time. I'm sorry, you guys have heard me say it a lot. Sonya Deville's been through enough. And I mean, a lot of wrestlers have been through enough, but Sonya Deville's been through enough. Judgment Day versus Seth, Cody, and Nakamura. Judgment Day make their entrance with Priest walking one step ahead of everybody else. There's no Rhea Ripley for a little bit because Raquel attacks Ripley from behind on the rampway. Ripley kind of ragdolls her and Indy and Candice before the match. Once everybody's in the ring, it's really cool to see. Like, Cody has a cool entrance when they play Kingdom. Everybody sings the lyrics to Kingdom. It's kind of like Judas. I finally got to go to Collision a while ago. You guys know if you've seen my videos. And I finally actually got to sing Judas live in a crowd for Chris Jericho now that there's fans back in the arenas. They're doing a very, very similar thing for Cody with Kingdom. But I thought it was very, very cool when Nakamura, Seth, and Cody were all standing in the ring. And it was Seth Rollins' theme that they were singing, not Cody Rhodes. I also took a brief look in the ring and said, wow, there's a lot of former NXT champions in this main event. It was really, really cool. Priest and Balor seem to be doing an anything you can do, I can do better type of thing, taking out their frustrations with each other on their opponents, which is some nice storytelling. Rhea Ripley's kind of losing it on the outside because she can't believe she was attacked earlier, so she's screaming at her guys in the ring and letting her frustration out that way. Priest tries to give the case to Balor. Sami Zayn, even though he's injured, appears on the outside to attack Priest, and he gets chucked over the commentary table, which, good for him, with how fucked up his arm looked, still taking a bump over the table from Priest. Cody gets the pin over Balor because of course he does, and all four, even Sami Zayn, who came in for the assist at the end, all four babyfaces stand tall. It's a triumphant, the good guys win in the end moment until Seth Rollins comes down from the turnbuckle and eats a dirty Kinshasa from Shinsuke Nakamura. And that's how we end Raw. Payback is a B pay-per-view, and if the match we're getting at Payback is Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins, oh yes, tap that shit into my veins. So we've done some stuff, right? We have done some stuff. We've kept Sami Zayn busy even in the absence of Kevin Owens. We are slowly trying to give agency back to Shayna Baszler post Ronda Rousey. We have a potential title match for Seth Rollins. We've got Gable versus Gunther, again, presumably for Payback. That will be kick-ass. They did stuff, but also some of it was just they did stuff. The Miz versus LA Knight, they will stretch out to Payback. I'm pretty sure they'll announce, oh, this match is going to happen tonight on Raw, and then some fuckery will happen, and then the match will be announced properly for Payback. But this was not, at all, by any stretch of the imagination, a bad Raw. Pretty reflective, pretty, okay, let's get SummerSlam out of everybody's memory pretty damn quickly, and we've done that. Everybody's sort of reset themselves. We've readdressed the JD McDonough Judgment Day thing, because that was hinted at a couple weeks ago and then it was kind of dropped. We've hinted that JD McDonough is trying to weasel his way in at the expense of Damian Priest, or possibly at the expense of Damian Priest's Money in the Bank briefcase. We've really hit home again, even though she's dealing with her own shit, on the idea that Rhea Ripley is the one that keeps this group together. And I think that that's a dynamic that has been true for longer than most people have given her credit for. Rhea Ripley's fucking awesome. I've said for the past little while, I want the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania next year to be Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley is top of the mountain for me. I want them to build Shayna Baszler up to somebody that I want to see face Rhea Ripley, because I don't care, and I don't care how many times I have to say it. In the stupidity what that was the Wednesday Night War, the one episode of NXT that beat AEW Dynamite was headed up by Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley. And if you can build Shayna Baszler up as the badass babyface and keep Rhea Ripley the dominant heel that she is, we can get the exact same match with the swapped identities on a big fucking stage. I'm losing my words. Like WrestleMania. I'm saying make it the main event of night 1, but depending on how well they build it, make it the main event full stop. Because at this point, and I'll get on my pedestal one more time and then I'll get off of SummerSlam. SummerSlam told me, even though the ending was stupid, SummerSlam told me that they are not going to end the Bloodline thing properly. They're going to hand that belt over to Cody Rhodes on a silver platter, and it makes me very, very sad. It does, because now that I know that, now that I don't have that faith in that particular storyline anymore, I don't care how good it gets from here, because I know the ending sucks. Prime example, I watch a lot of shows right when they're hitting their pomp. I watch all the Disney Marvel shows. I watch Game of Thrones when it was happening. I watch, all that kind of thing. But there's other shows that I sort of put on the shelf and I thought, you know what, I'll watch them later on. One of them was Dexter. Now, regardless of what you think of Dexter, it kind of went through a similar thing that Game of Thrones went through, where it's like, yeah, don't bother watching the last season. The last season's kind of shit, but the rest of it's okay. And my thought was like, well, you're telling me the ending sucks. Why am I even going to start? And that's kind of what SummerSlam did for me with the Bloodline thing. Because if you were going to give it to somebody that made sense for the story of the Bloodline, you had Kevin Owens, you had Sami Zayn, you had Jey Uso. You had 3 opportunities to do the right thing. The last one being the most right thing. And by not doing it, WWE's told me, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do the right thing. You're going to do the Cody Rhodes thing because enough people are crying about it on Twitter. And that's really disappointing. So, I need other different things to keep me in now. And that's the Judgment Day, and that's the LWO stuff. That's specifically the rise and reign of Rhea Ripley, and now the rise of Shayna Baszler. The potential feuds that we have between Io Sky and Asuka, all that type of stuff. But the Bloodline is, even now, even though I know it's not going to end well, the Bloodline is still the best thing WWE's done in ages. I'm just really sad to know, or sad to have it heavily told to me last Saturday that we are not going. You're going to enjoy this story, but we're not going to end it properly. We refuse, because we're stubborn, and we listen to the wrong people on Twitter. And those people think Cody Rhodes is, like, good. They do. They think he's good. I don't know. I got nothing. So let's get away from all that depressing shit and go to SmackDown instead, where we have Michael Cole, Kevin Patrick, and Corey Graves on commentary. They make a nice team, and for the people that thought, oh, they're only doing this so that Kevin Patrick can be booted out the door eventually, Kevin Patrick's still the main lead commentator. Michael Cole is just backing up him and Graves, and I think it's really, really interesting hearing Michael Cole as the third voice instead of the first voice, because shows his flexibility, if nothing else. We started off the night with Charlotte versus Asuka, which is kind of cool because they were the first two that were wronged by Io Sky and the cash-in, because Charlotte didn't walk out as champion. Asuka didn't walk out as champion. Bianca Belair didn't walk out as champion. Io Sky did, but Io Sky Io Sky pinned Bianca Belair. So Bianca Belair should be out. Redo the triple threat with Asuka, Io Sky, and Charlotte. You've got a match. But it makes sense. They should be the two in contention. It should be Asuka. Let me be clear. It sounds like I defend Charlotte Flair a lot, because I do, because she's way better than people give her credit for. But she shouldn't be here. Asuka and her should have some kind of number one contenders match like this if it hadn't gone to fuckery. Asuka beats Charlotte, gets some momentum, and she becomes the number one contender to Io Sky. Her and Io Sky have a whole series of fucking awesome matches. It'll be great. It's a great match because both of them are great. Damage Control come down. Bayley distracts. There's a picture-perfect double dropkick and a kip-up by Io Sky. Great statement right away by the new champ Io Sky. Damage Control sort of sitting there waving Io's belt around to remind everybody that they run SmackDown. And it is cool, even though she's not physically cleared to compete yet, it is cool to see Dakota Kai back on the show. The match before that was good, but it's more of a platform for the story to happen than a story between Charlotte and Asuka. Asuka's the bad guy, Charlotte's the good guy, and everybody online right now is like, oh my god, the roles are so uncertain. And it's like, no, they're not uncertain. You just don't want Charlotte to be a good guy. That's on you. Santos Escobar is supposed to face Austin Theory tonight for the United States Championship. He's being interviewed backstage, and he's attacked by Theory. He's thrown into a bunch of cases. He's thrown up on top of a case and then had another case closed on his leg, and then he goes off to get medical attention. They announce that next week on SmackDown is the 25th anniversary celebration for the Rated R Superstar Edge in Toronto. And why do I have this written in big, bold, red lettering in my notes? Because I'm going to be there. It's going to be fun. You guys are going to be barraged with really, really shitty cell phone videos from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, so prepare your feeds. Karrion Kross versus AJ Styles. Again. I know. A lot of people out there like to pretend that Karrion Kross is terrible. That's fine. AJ Styles is awesome. AJ Styles knows what Karrion Kross is supposed to be and lets himself get monstered by Karrion Kross a lot. He's out there with Mia Yim, so Mia Yim and Scarlett get into it on the outside after Scarlett puts the foot on the rope a couple of times. Styles Clash, AJ Styles gets the win. It is repetitive, I will say, very repetitive, kind of like the Bronson and Shinsuke stuff I was talking about before. It is repetitive, but I think this match was a lot better than the other matches we've seen from these guys. It's a lot better than the matches that Karrion Kross had with Carl Anderson a couple weeks ago, because that was a weird detour, and the crowd seemed to be into this one a lot more. Karrion Kross seemed to be more in like his monster mode in this match than he has been previously as well. Now, the bummer of this is they did a promo video package before the match started, and it was Karrion Kross talking to AJ Styles and saying, I learned something from everybody I faced, Roddy Raw, and watching you and your friends there, I've learned a lot about brotherhood. You guys are going to see what I mean really soon. So when the match happened, we're like, okay, there's going to be some random followers of Karrion Kross that are going to come in, and they're going to have some matches against the OC, but nobody was introduced, at least tonight. Now, don't shoot me for saying this, because you guys know I'm a fan of Karrion Kross. I think the way he was presented in proper black and gold NXT was fucking amazing. He made his debut during COVID, and I remember thinking at the time, imagine when we see this guy in front of a crowd. And then he got let go, and then he came back, and then he had a weird feud with Drew McIntyre, and we don't need to talk about it, right? But if he's going to have followers, if he's going to have a group of followers, I don't know who they're going to be. I wouldn't dare to pretend to know who they're going to be. But if you want to pick two guys, because, I mean, AJ Styles has Gallows and Anderson. If you want to pick two guys from down in NXT, because one is in NXT. Actually, no. They've both gone from the main roster back to NXT to kind of reinvigorate themselves. If you know what's going on in NXT whatsoever, you know what Dijak has become, and you know what Baron Corbin became at the Great American Bash with his new, like, no more gimmicks type of thing. If you present them properly, and listen to what I'm saying very carefully, if you present them properly, and if you want to do like a Disciples of Karrion Kross type of faction, Kross, Corbin, and Dijak and Scarlett if you want to, versus the OC, you could do worse. You could do a lot worse. Because any two of those guys together, you know, if you get the presentation down right, could be a good tag team. They could be a good trio. They could take on Bobby Lashley's new group that we're going to talk about later on, and rah. But it was funny that they teased this before the match, and then it didn't happen during the match when he said to AJ Styles, who I'm going to face tonight, you're about to see what I mean. And then we definitely didn't see what he meant, so that was weird. Like I say, better match from these two than we've gotten so far. I'm willing to overlook the fact that it's repetitive because it was so much better than the other matches, and because it looks like we're getting a further development with Karrion Kross apparently bringing some followers in to join him in some kind of new group. There's mosquitoes. I don't know why there are mosquitoes. It's fucking ridiculous o'clock at night, and I'm inside. So that's another story for another day as well. Edge comes out. Edge talks about, obviously, the fact that he's going to be in Toronto next week. They're going to do the 25-year celebration thing. Kind of tries to say, oh, I wasn't even supposed to be here tonight, but, they made some space for me on the card because we're up here in Calgary. I'm like, you were just in the next segment. Like, you don't need to do that. But he starts talking about all of his time that he was away, and when he was recovering, when he had to retire because of his neck and whatever, and who helped him get up off his ass and start doing things again. And he mentioned Sheamus. And I've heard bits of this story before, but I've never really heard the whole thing, that he came with him to do the Celtic Warrior workouts that Sheamus does on YouTube. He went mountain biking with him and took a big fall off the bike. He even showed the fall of the bike on the Titantron, and he said, you know what? If I can take a fall like that off a bike, maybe I can start wrestling again. I said, well, it's a bit of a leap, but, it's something worth doing. And when he said thought he was ready to get back in the ring again, he got back with Sheamus again, and they beat the crap out of each other. And he says, I've never faced Sheamus in a WWE ring in my life. Now, people online that like to poo-poo things have pulled out, like, rumbles that they've been in together, or, like, six-pack challenges and battle royals and tag team matches that they might have been in at the same time. But he was very specific in his promo. He says, Sheamus and I have never gone one-on-one in a WWE ring. So stop trying to shit on stuff that's just nice. I'm just putting it out there. Sheamus comes out, and it's an oddly serious promo for Sheamus as well. He says, basically he does the, hey, I was happy to help you because you helped me first. I was trying to break through in the business. They came through Ireland and nobody else would give me the time of the day. And you sat with me and gave me some great advice. And without you, there'd be no Sheamus and all that kind of thing. And they show some pictures. They show Sheamus sitting on Edge's kid's bike, and it's cute. And Sheamus kind of says, you told me you were going to burn that picture. I mean, pictures are digital, so that's, an old man joke. Yay! But it's a really weird match that I never thought I would see. And they're going to do it next week as part of the Edge 25-year anniversary thing. And I was like, I'm going to be there for this weird, really meaningful match. And I'm kind of hoping that they're not using this, because he said the next time, I will say this, when they were in Toronto for Raw, the last time I was at Raw, when I took all my weird videos because I was kind of sitting behind where the Titantron is, Edge said the next time I'm in Toronto, I'm going to have a big announcement or something to that effect, or an announcement about my career or whatever. I hope they don't have this match and then he announces he's retiring or something like that, because that would be a bummer. Sheamus accepts the match. You know, they bring it in, they shake, they hug, and he says really, really close, like, in his ear, but also with a microphone in front of his mouth so that we can all hear it too. He's like, I hope you haven't made a big mistake. So, if this is the Brawling Brutes going back to being more heels, and Sheamus cheats to beat Edge, and then we get a program with Sheamus and Edge, I'm also okay with that. Could be a lot of fun. Could be a lot of fun. But that'll be next week. And that'll be while I'm there in the building. So, you, like I say, you guys are going to get inundated with videos from me of whatever this is. Probably won't be an episode of WWE next week. If something super important happens on Raw, I might do a solo video for what happened on Raw. But other than that, I'm just taking the week off because I'm going to go to SmackDown on Friday, and then I'm going to Destiny Wrestling's Summer Heat show on Saturday, where it's Alex Kane from MLW, who I'm not familiar with, taking on Trent Seven, taking on Lance Archer, and taking on Big Damo Killian Dane in a four-way to crown the new Destiny World Champion. So let me know in the bottom, in the gimmick down below, or on X at Spaz Phoenix, who you think should win that match, because that's a match that I'm going to see live in the front row the night after SmackDown. It's going to be a lot of fun. But it means I'm not doing a WWE next week. And when we get back from that, the next couple of weekends have pay-per-views. Do they not? LA Knight comes out and kills Top Dollar in 2 minutes because WWE still hates Hit Row, apparently. Michael Cole buries Top Dollar on commentary, but also Michael Cole tries to rap. So, Michael Cole's whiter than me. Bobby Lashley is in the back with the Street Profits, and they're all in suits, and they all pontificate wisely about wasted potential and how we are not going to waste our potential anymore. Now, if you go back one pod, you're going to see the Collision review. If you go back 2 pods, you're going to see my movie review of Last Voyage of the Demeter. If you go back 3 pods, you're going to see a pod that I did last week called Fantasy Booking: The Rise and Fall of the New Hurt Business. I'm sure it will piss off all the right people. There's your plug. Why is my phone beeping? Why is that a thing? Santos Escobar, after many, many sequences in the back where Adam Pearce is checking on him, asking if he's fine, checking on him, asking if he's fine, asking if he's clear, asking Ray if Santos is okay, they set up for Santos Escobar versus Theory, and Theory comes out once again, chop blocks him in the already bad leg on the ramp. The match is called off. The match is not going to happen. Adam Pearce is kind of like, well, Ray, you're in the LWO. You go fight him. They have like a 2-minute match where Rey Mysterio makes Austin Theory look like a fool, and Rey Mysterio is your new United States champion. I have nothing for this. I have nothing for this. It could have been Grayson Waller. It could have been LA Knight. Yeah, but it's Rey Mysterio. Now, people are pontificating that the match between Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio a couple weeks ago was supposed to go Rey's way, and that this was going to cause a rift in the LWO. I really hope that's not true, because the LWO is really good. I like them a lot. I think they're getting over. But Rey does not need a mid-card championship at this point in his life, unless, because a U.S. title is kind of like a North American title, unless they're trying to jigsaw together some kind of Rey versus Dominic, champion versus champion exhibition match. But that would be weird too. I don't know. This is not a move. This is not a move I'm good with. Nothing against Rey Mysterio. Really, like, at his stage in life and whatever, he should not be able to do what he still does. I saw somebody on Twitter the other day say, you know, every time they bring in somebody new, they brought in the Lucha House Party, they brought in Sin Cara, they brought in, they've got a couple guys, you know, right now they've got Dragon Lee and Axiom and whatever, and every time they bring in a masked luchador that seems to be getting over, everybody wants to say that it's the next Rey Mysterio, when Rey Mysterio just shows up to work and says, no, I'm the next Rey Mysterio, because I'm still the Rey Mysterio. I thought that was a hell of a point. As somebody who's never been again, it's one of those, acknowledge the hell out of, like, he's a hell of a wrestler. He's a legend. He is the guy that made luchadors mainstream. Nobody will ever take that away from him. Immense respect for the guy, but I've never been a Rey Mysterio. He's never been one of the guys that's like, I'm buying a show or I'm buying a pay-per-view, or I'm buying a ticket to a show to see Rey Mysterio. He just hasn't been one of those guys for me. I say that in the most respectful way possible, but the stuff that most people get from Rey Mysterio, I would get from somebody like a Jeff Hardy or a Rob Van Dam. That's just me. But that's to say nothing about the fact, like, you can't steal this guy's place in wrestling history. You just can't. But also, he doesn't need a title. Like, I don't think they'll ever put him in a world title situation again, but he doesn't need a world title, which means he definitely doesn't need a mid-card title, and he definitely doesn't need a mid-card title when he's in a group where he's doing his best to elevate other people. Unless, the only thing I can think of, unless this is like the Sami Zayn thing where we took out Santos Escobar with a fake injury because he's got a real injury, because that's what happened with Sami Zayn. If that's the case, then I can excuse it. And if it was something that was revealed late in the day and they had to do a little bit of swerveroony, then cool. But do something with this quickly. Or have Grayson Waller cheat and beat Rey Mysterio, and then Santos Escobar goes after Grayson Waller to avenge his hero and all that kind of stuff. If that's the case. If that's not the case, I really don't know why they did this. That's just my take. That's just my 2 cents. Congratulations to Rey for what it's worth. But, yeah. Anyways, Roman and Solo and Paul Heyman come out for a closing segment that has been advertised since Monday as Hail to the Chief. They come out. He does the whole acknowledge me thing. He immediately asks Paul Heyman, you know, where's Jimmy? Under the assumption that Jimmy's back in their camp, and Paul Heyman kind of tries to say, well, no, you know, I tried to call him and, you know, I didn't get a very nice answer, whatever. They do a really weird camera cut to Jimmy being right behind them just outside the ring, showing up in the same hoodie, the same bandana that he showed up at SummerSlam. And he stares down Roman Reigns, and he's like, welcome back to the team. And he's got the big smile on his face with the big Roman Reigns toothy smile. And Jimmy's just kind of looking at him, and he says, all right, you want me to say it? I'll say it. I owe you one. So what do you want? You want power? You want prestige? You want opportunity? You want a new car? You want a new boat? You want any of this? And he just tells him to shut up. He says, it's not about you. It's not about you, which is good, which was the number one thing that they had to do in this promo, because anybody that saw that thing on Saturday at SummerSlam was like, okay, if they just say that Jimmy sided with Roman because he decided to rejoin the Judgment Day, that's really dumb, because look at what they did to him. That wasn't my problem. My problem was WWE telling us we're never going to put that title on the right guy. Separate thing. But they're saying if he had just sided back with Roman, because that seems to be the more beneficial side of things, he's experienced enough to know that that's not true. So immediately they said, you know what, he cuts him off, says, this isn't about you. This isn't about you at all. This has nothing to do with you. SummerSlam had nothing to do with you. It's not all about you. Roman looking absolutely perplexed. Solo Sikoa kind of looking at Roman for like what to do. Paul Heyman doing the Paul Heyman thing, obviously. Jey Uso comes down, and this is why Jey Uso has his own Tron, etc., like he had at SummerSlam. And he basically punches a microphone into Jimmy's chest, and he says, you better tell me right now why you flushed 37 years of history between the two of us down the drain, down the toilet, down whatever. And he kind of went with the secondary decision, the explanation that I thought they were going to go with, is like, I did it out of fear, I did it because I love you, I did it because if you become the champion, what happens to the Usos? If you become the champion and the head of the table, you're going to become like this asshole over here. And Roman kind of looks at him like, why is he pointing at me? which is great. And he says, look, even if you hate me, even if you want nothing to do with me anymore, even if you want to, and he does, he puts his arms out and he closes his eyes, even if you want to super kick me in the face, I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want to lose you as a brother, as a partner. I didn't want to lose you to being an asshole like Roman. If you need to kick my head off, go ahead and do it. And instead, Jey just turns his back to him in like the most disrespectful way possible. And even as he tries to like sort of walk around and get it in his face again, he just keeps turning his back, and he keeps turning his back, and he keeps rotating so that his back is facing him. Till eventually, Jimmy leaves. He's heartbroken. He knows he's reaping the repercussions of his own actions. There's a thing going around the internet right now that I love, and it applies to a lot of real life situations. It's like, oh, well, look who showed up if it isn't the consequences of my own actions. And this is exactly what Jimmy was going through here. Roman was laughing his ass off, got his mouth super kicked off. Solo took one too. Roman tried to go for a spear and a Superman punch. Jay gets him again with another super kick, and eventually he calls out to Jimmy while Jimmy's made his way almost to the top of the ramp. He said, Jimmy, get back here. And he goes up the ramp, and Jimmy comes down the ramp, and you think that they're gonna reconcile and hug and whatever, and they get within an inch of each other. Jay super kicks his face off too. And he shouts into the camera. There's no microphone, so it's got that artificial feeling of this isn't part of the show anymore. But the crowd is going nuts. Jay has never been more over than he is in this moment. Because he's not talking into a microphone. He's not even really in the ring. He's sort of like awkwardly on the floor looking at his brother, sort of shaking it off, sort of taking in the crowd noise, because the crowd is doing exactly what WWE needs the crowd to do. And he just says, the line that stayed with everybody, and it's been quoted 100 times, because some of it's a bit cheesy, is like, I'm out of it. I'm out of the bloodline. I'm out of SmackDown. I'm out of WWE. Deuces. Ooses. And he disappears through the crowd, and he takes this long, like, superstar walk through the crowd. No music, no nothing, and he just takes his leave. He's like, I'm out. Like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, I'm out. Type of thing, right? He's just like, he's decided he's done with all of it. It doesn't matter revenge on Roman anymore. It doesn't matter that Solo turned his back on him as a brother a long time ago. It doesn't matter that his twin was conflicted and turned on him for stupid reasons. It doesn't matter that he's not the world champion. It doesn't matter that he might never have a WWE match again. Like, he just said fuck all of it. And that got the biggest pop that Jey Uso could possibly get. Now, I'll say what everybody else says about Cody Rhodes. Imagine Jey Uso does this and walks out with the belt. This, and you guys know what I think about CM Punk. This could have been treated bigger than CM Punk beating John Cena and walking out with the belt. But they didn't do it because they're cowards and they're going to kowtow to the crying Cody Rhodes fans on Twitter. But this was fucking awesome. I still don't believe that I don't believe that they're going to end the Roman Reigns thing properly. I don't believe that they're going to handle the dismantling of the bloodline properly anymore. But this was one guy taking his one moment and making it cool as fuck. So my hat's off. I mean, my hat's off to everybody. Roman has to sell it. Solo has to sell it. Heyman has to sell it. Jimmy has to sell it. I get that. I do. Somebody had to write it. Somebody had to pass it. They had to make it work. But Jey Uso is a fucking star. Jey Uso is a fucking star. That's the success story of this week. There's a lot of other cool stuff that's happened. Like I said, mostly on Raw. We've built some pretty cool stuff for Payback, considering it's a B pay-per-view. But this Jey Uso having this moment is the big success story of this week. Like I say, one more time I'll remind you, just so that I make sure that it's known. There's no WWE last week. Next week, I'll be at the Destiny show, so I probably won't have a Collision review either. We'll see what else happens. We got a lot of pay-per-views coming up. We've got All In and All Out. I'm sure I'll do something for them. Payback's on the horizon. NXT No Mercy's on the horizon. We've got a lot of stuff to preview. There's a lot of stories kicking off and a lot of stories firing. Do I think that WWE has recovered from the mess that they made at SummerSlam? Not yet. But to borrow a phrase from the Around the Point boys, I don't think WWE's completely into mud either. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am